Good morning. Please be seated. Dean Almeida, Dean Rivoli, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, members of the graduating class, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2018 Commencement Exercises for Executive Masters in Leadership Program for DC Public School Leaders. I'm Bardia Kamrad, Senior Associate Dean for Executive Degree Programs at the McDonough School of Business. Today, we assemble in this beautiful place to honor candidates for the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. We will begin our ceremony with an invocation delivered by Reverend Raymond Kemp, Senior Research Fellow at Georgetown University. Following the invocation, Professor Douglas McCabe will read the university charter. Kindly stand for the invocation.
I'm going to invoke Alicia Keys and God in that order. And the day came when the risk it took to remain tight and closed in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom. Loving God, a blessing on these graduates, their families, their school communities, all who have supported them in this year-long journey. A blessing, too, an acknowledgement of a blessing we have become one to another over this year. We know with Mendiba Nelson Mandela that education is the most powerful force to change the world, dear God. And you have shown us what Yeats stated so well. Education is not filling a bucket, but lighting a fire. Let this celebration affirm us in our fire, in our achievements, and prompt us to shed all fear and to grow in love. Can I get an amen? Amen.
Please be seated. In 1815, Georgetown's president, Reverend John Grassi of the Society of Jesus, asked our first student, then Congressman William Gaston, for whom this hall is named, to present a petition for a federal charter. The bill passed the House and the Senate in February 1815 and was signed by the president on the same day the Senate ratified the Treaty of Peace ending the War of 1812. Accordingly, it is our custom to initiate academic ceremonies with the reading of that charter. It reads as follows. An act concerning the College of Georgetown in the District of Columbia, being enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that it shall and may be lawful for such persons as now are, or from time to time may be, the president and directors of the College of Georgetown within the District of Columbia to admit any of the students belonging to said college or other persons meriting academical honors to any degree in the faculties, arts, sciences, and liberal professions, to which persons are usually admitted in other colleges or universities of the United States, and to issue in an appropriate form the diplomas or certificates which may be requisite to testify to the admission of such degree. Signed, Leonard Chavez, Speaker of the House of Representatives, John Gayard, President Pro Tempore of the Senate, approved March 1st, 1815, James Madison.
This morning, we are indeed privileged to have with us a distinguished advocate for education. Mr. Mark Sternberg leads the Walton Family Foundation's initiatives to improve K-12 education for all of our nation's children by empowering parents with quality options and alternatives. Mr. Sternberg served as an advocate of education in many capacities, including Teach for America in the South Bronx, founder and principal of the Bronx Lab School, a White House Fellow, and before joining the Walton Family Foundation as a Senior Deputy Chancellor at the New York City Department of Education, where he also served as Senior Advisor to the Chancellor and the Mayor's Office on Education Policy and Strategy. Mr. Sternberg earned a BA from Princeton University and a joint MBA and Master's in Education from Harvard University. We are very pleased to have Mr. Sternberg with us this morning, and we are grateful to the Walton Family Foundation for their support and impactful cause. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sternberg to stage.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, graduates. I'm delighted to get to share in this morning's excitement and festivities with you. I want to thank Dean Almeida and Dr. Breeze for having me here and for your great leadership. It is truly an honor to be here today with you and your families. Again, my name is Mark Sternberg. Long before I became the director of the Walton Education Program, I opened and led a school in the South Bronx. Before that, I taught, and then moved on to be a deputy to my mentor, Joel Klein, in the New York City Department of Education. So I've had many roles and titles and have been blessed. But other than the title of husband and father, the titles that I've been most proud of have been teacher and principal. And those are the two I treasure the most, and I think I have that in common with our graduates today. I know that roles like the ones we've had are more than jobs. They are a calling that encompasses every moment of your time and energy. And I think, like you all, my spouse, my wife, would agree with that. And please don't get me started about all my gray hair. But the fact that you all are receiving a degree today is a testament to your work ethic, to your dedication, both to your craft and to the children of Washington, D.C. It is also a reminder of the irrelevance of a tired debate about what kind of school you might be working in. Instead, the question you all have asked is a simple one. How do we as a community of advocates and educators come together to serve families better? How do we get past labels, get through bureaucracy to put students first? Over the course of your study, you all have answered that question time and again. For example, Arturo and Elba recognized that existing systems to choose a school and to enroll in a school, district or charter, were extraordinarily difficult for families speaking languages other than English. So despite the best of intentions, the systems in place were just too difficult. It was too hard to find a school and enroll, to fill out the proper paperwork, to find the uniforms, to get the supplies and the vaccinations for school, to figure it out all for yourself. So these two educators decided that we could do better. And this is a city where 2,000 students are identified as linguistically and culturally diverse, and one that is striving to come together as one city. So Arturo and Elba asked, couldn't all of us in Washington, D.C. do a better job of coming together to create a one-stop support that makes this process easier and more inclusive? And that's what they have set out to do, to create a citywide English learner support center that will connect families to the many supports they need, everything from translation to health insurance to support services to MetroCards to foreign transcript validation. This very simple idea sends an even simpler and powerful message to immigrants, to refugees, to newcomers to this city, that they are welcome here. That one city isn't just a slogan. It also makes real the wise words of my college religion professor, Cornel West, that you can't serve the people if you don't love the people. And that spirit of problem solving and love is what I see running through the courses that you all, the ideas that you all have generated, that are about busting down barriers and boundaries to serve people better. Your digital equity initiative embodies the understanding that readiness for the future is more than just access to the internet and a piece of hardware. It's a whole worldview that sees technology as a tool for connection and empowerment. Your trauma-informed approach project recognizes that the loss or incarceration of a parent or an act of serious violence has real consequences for the children we serve. Yet this initiative recognizes that a child can be resilient when given the resources to be successful. Other projects seek to open space in sought-after schools for students most in need and to take on the under-recognized harm that mid-year moves to the approximately 6,000 students in this city that change schools over the course of a year. You have reminded us that the people closest to the work are the ones with the best problems, best ideas about how to solve the hardest problems. You've shown us that time and again in your work, and you've assembled an impressive list of innovative ideas that will see the light of day and will make our city better, your city better. So we're excited about that, and I would say that's not even the main reason we at the Walton Foundation are proud to support this program. The real reason is that by coming together here and by finding ways to knock down barriers to serve kids and families better, you're demonstrating to this community, and I would say to our country, that something really important and hard is possible. Our work at the Foundation is based on the simple belief that every single child in the country deserves access to a great school, and that access can be a difference maker for their lives. We've seen what can happen when the strength and creativity of educators is unleashed, but also know that far too many students lack the kind of opportunity, especially in communities impacted by poverty. We believe the nation needs more kinds of great schools and more great leaders like the one Georgetown will confer degrees on today. And we're exceptionally clear that no one type of school and no one type of leader has cornered the market on serving families with excellence. So thank you again for having us here today, for your partnership. We thank the university. We thank and congratulate the graduates, and we look forward to your extraordinary success in the years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Sternberg. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, and I'm sure you well appreciate, part of the strength of any degree program is the academic content. It's now my pleasure to introduce the program's academic director, who's responsible for the curriculum and its innovative contents, Professor Robert Bies. Dr. Bies will now present a few personal reflections about the class and the experiences shared during the last 12 months. Please welcome Dr. Bies.
Thank you. Yeah, I can almost hear Dr. King, free at last, free at last. We come here today to celebrate you and your accomplishments, from the oh so many papers, hello, okay, to the cross-sector innovation projects that you did in collaboration with Deputy Mayor for Education Anna Smith. Having completed this intense and intensive program probably makes you more appreciative of Nelson Mandela's observation, it always seems impossible until it's done. But today is also a day of gratitude. We are so grateful to the Walton Family Foundation for their generosity in funding this program, and to another foundation who wishes to remain anonymous, because we would not be having this program or this graduation without the Walton Family Foundation or this other foundation. But we are also grateful to the family and friends and coworkers who supported you along this journey this year. So let me begin my comments with these words. Let your life speak. Unleash the greatness of who you are. Your EML journey began at Airlie last January, a conference center at which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had been a guest on more than one occasion. You walked the same hallways as Dr. King, dreaming about a better future for your students and organizing and mobilizing on their behalf. Much like Dr. King, you were foot soldiers for social justice in Washington, D.C. At Airlie, you crafted a mission statement for the cohort, which you titled Stand, exclamation point, Bold, exclamation point, Together, exclamation point. In that statement, you committed to this mission. In service of DC communities, we are leaders with diverse and positive identities, collectively transcending boundaries to become our best selves and to drive bold foundational change. And you stayed true to that mission throughout the year as you challenged each other, and you are challenging a variety of institutions to do right by your students and their families. You, in doing this work of social justice and doing it together, you are literally changing the landscape of urban public school education in this beautiful city. Your focus all year has not been on what sector you are from, but how you can best serve all public school students, regardless of race, regardless of age, regardless of social class, regardless of where your students come from or the language they speak. As Cornel West reminds us, never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. Let your life speak. Unleash the greatness of who you are as you continue your work of social justice to change the life trajectories of your students, whether they be 3 years old or 23 years old, to unlock their gifts and talents to help them achieve their greatness. You will need to dream big, create small wins, and keep the faith and keep moving. Dream big. As you've heard me say many times this year, if you're going to dream, dream big. Pursue your dreams with passion, even to the point of failure. If one pursuit of one dream fails, then dream another dream. Remember, it's dreams plus determination produce greatness. But many people will tell you, maybe they already have, don't dream big, as you will ultimately be disappointed. But to those doubters and naysayers, remind them of the wisdom of Steve Jobs. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Create small wins. Creating small wins may seem to contradict dreaming big, but it isn't. For creating small wins aligned with achieving the big dream will help you and your team stay motivated as you deal with the inevitable frustrations that come with leading transformational change in the pursuit of social justice. Take to heart the wisdom of one who has been fighting for children since her days at the model Head Start program in Mississippi in the 1960s to her current work at the Children's Defense Fund, Marian Wright Edelman. And she said these words: "We must not, in trying to think about how we can make a big difference, ignore the small daily differences we can make, which over time add up to big differences that we often cannot foresee. Don't be paralyzed by failing to do the big. Do the small. Things may seem little, but they may seem big to people they impact. Don't let perfect get in the way of doing good. Keep the faith and keep moving. To do the work of social justice in service of your students and their families, you must keep the faith. Si se puede." Those words of Dolores Huerta, made famous by Cesar Chavez, became a rallying cry for a movement. Always keep them close to your heart. Si se puede. In this work of social justice, you will stumble. You will fall. But get back up. Dust yourself off. Keep moving. As Dr. King reminds us, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. Faith and movement are inextricably linked. You can't have one without the other. Indeed, as Mary McLeod Bethune, who grew up in poverty in South Carolina, yet rose to become an influential educator, presidential advisor, and political activist, reminds us, without faith, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. Let your life speak, and speak loud. Ryan, Jade, Vanessa, Abe, Mike, Saria, Tiffany, Elba, Maurice, Shannon, Kara, Zenaida, Arturo, Dwayne, Julia, Courtney, Jen, Maggie, Ben, and Larissa. Each of you has a voice of leadership. I saw that the first time I met you. But across this year, I've heard each of your voices grow deeper and richer as you have become empowered leaders. You speak with confidence, you speak with passion, a little bit of swagger, and you speak the truth in a world that is indifferent, if not silent, to the needs and challenges that face your students and their families. So you must speak up, and you must speak loud, remembering the wisdom of Malala. When the world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. But you cannot do it alone, and you will not do it alone. And you are not alone. There are 20 voices from last year's cohort. There's 20 voices from the next cohort. Many of them are here today to celebrate with you, but they also came here to stand with you. You add in the 65 graduates from previous versions of this program, and you are 125 voices strong that can become a powerful voice for change and innovation and social justice. As Gandhi reminds us, a small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can alter the course of history. Remember that your greatness lies ahead of you and within you. May the force be with you, always.
I am very pleased to introduce two sets of student speakers who will address us this morning on behalf of the cohort. First, Tiffany Galloway and Zanana Mahone, one each from DC Public Schools and the DC Public Charter School Board, who will speak to their classmates. They will be followed by Shannon Hodge and Jade Brawley, also representing both the DC Public Charter School Board and DC Public Schools, who will speak to all of us.
The ancient Greek philosopher and scientist Aristotle once said, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts," meaning when the individual parts are connected together to form one entity, they are worth more than if the parts were in silos.
EML DC PSL Cohort 2 embodied the essence of this quote across the past 11 months. We were joined together and given the charge to transcend boundaries, become our best selves, and drive foundational change for the greater Washington, DC. We've laughed, cried, learned, taught, challenged each other and professors, and prioritized weekly cohort building over at Epicurean.
To quote Professor Douglas McCabe, Cohort 2 is the best cohort. World-class even, and in our very humble opinion, this is the absolute truth. Aristotle was right. Together we've been unstoppable. But the strength and magnitude of our cohort can only be attributed to the unique strengths and qualities each individual brings to the whole.
Surya, your courage reminds us to be brave in the face of our challenges.
Shannon, your practicality and decisiveness serves as an anchor for our cohort.
Vanessa, you are a warrior for justice, and it's an honor to be in the fight for educational equity with you.
Jade, your authenticity pushes us to reflect so that we're equally as authentic in all spaces.
Jen, you have the spirit of a tenacious and strategic advocate.
Dwayne, your spirit of discernment paired with your infectious humor has the ability to bring light into any room.
Elba, you are the embodiment of family and constantly remind us to connect as brothers and sisters, not just as peers.
Arturo, the consummate life of the party. Your ability to see the fun in everything challenges us to give ourselves grace as we engage in the deep work daily.
Kara, KK, you are the conductor of the cohort, and you keep us on track.
Big Ben, that's Principal Dr. Benjamin Williams. You are the mirror. You constantly hold us accountable for keeping the urgency of the work. We count on you to bring the kids in the room.
Ryan, you are our quiet but courageous protagonist, and you constantly listen for the song beneath our words.
Maurice, the smoothest, most debonair, charismatic principal this side of the Mason-Dixon line. Even amid chaos, you remain cool and level-headed, teaching us the power of stillness and reflection.
Julia, you are clutch, you are our quarterback. You play the corner in so many situations, filling the space and pushing our thinking.
Margaret Madison McCormick White. Where can we begin? In all seriousness, you continue to be our levity. You show us the importance of starting fresh each day.
Larissa, you are our visionary. You connect the dots and hold us accountable for seeing the big picture.
Courtney, no challenge you face is ever insurmountable. You are fiercely passionate about being an impactful leader and are the quintessential foot soldier for educational equity. We see your sacrifice and honor you.
Abe, you are our navigator. When we have needed direction, you are always willing to help steer us so we reach our destination.
Mike, you are the personification of Jossie Bass's anthropological sleuth, consistently analyzing and probing the status quo while simultaneously proposing alternatives that make us stronger.
Tiffany, you are a woman of few words, but you give strong voice to our most vulnerable students.
Zenaida, your emotional intelligence, keen sense of self, and ability to draw the balance between vulnerability and candor humbles us.
The best of who we are that has been revealed over the years, everything that we need to do this work, and if it's in one of us, it's in all of us. Thank you.
Families, friends, colleagues, and guests, on behalf of all the members of EML DC PSL Cohort 2, we thank you for all that you've done to support us in the past year. And we apologize for all that you've had to do to support us in this past year. We've deprived you of our presence almost every other weekend since January. We've missed games, competitions, practices, and performances. We've locked ourselves away in our offices and escaped to coffee shops to finish 12 to 20-page papers, identify 5 leadership takeaway lessons, and work on group projects. We've done all this to focus on ourselves, our goals, our growth, and our mission-driven work. We've been selfish. We're not quite done being selfish yet, though, and for that, we ask your forgiveness. This morning, we want to take a few minutes, and just a few minutes because we did get the message, to selfishly reflect on our experience in this program. Today, 338 days after our first meeting as a cohort, we reflect on our journey, on who we've become, and what we've learned about ourselves. In short, we've changed. A year ago, we couldn't have imagined we'd be here now. We were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, excited to be in that classroom with the amazing view of the football field. We were on our best behavior for a little while, a little bit in awe, a little bit on guard, and hopeful that the amazing snacks would continue throughout the day. We were intrigued by the other members of our cohort, some of whom we knew from other settings, and others whom we were meeting for just the first time. In January, we gathered at Airlie, inspired by both the setting and the people who walked there before us. We took time to contemplate who, where, and why we were as we walked along the lovely and cold paths. A couple weeks ago, we went back to the same place, ostensibly to end our EML journey where it began. But really, we were just beginning the next part of our journey, a journey that is informed by what we have learned over the past year. Because there's no way I could give a graduation speech without a quote, particularly in a program led by Professor Robert Bees. Here's one from Malcolm X: "Growing is the result of learning." We've learned a lot in the past year. We have the vocabulary, the handouts, completed papers, and grades to prove it. But whether we've grown cannot be measured in the same way. Whether we've grown will show in how we put our talents to use to support the students we serve from this moment forward.
As we prepare to embark on the next phase of our hero's journey, I am reminded of the sage wisdom of Kanye West, pre-Kim Kardashian. Everything I'm not makes me everything I am. We are not leaders who are fearful, as this EML experience has given us the tools to be intentionally and unapologetically fearless. We are not weighed down by anxiety and our internal struggles, as this program, specifically the tearful session with Dr. G at the June residency, has taught us about the power of grace and how to extend it to ourselves. Our minds are not closed, as we have learned to be more curious and less judgmental. Give me one moment. Our ears are not deaf to the political rhetoric that sometimes takes over the conversation about educating our children. Our hearts do not ache for the children that are farthest from opportunity. Rather, our passion for social justice has been ignited, and our commitment to finding innovative ways to empower our youth renewed. Our pace is not labored. Rather, we have the swagger of Denzel and the poise of Meryl. Our eyes are open, our arms are ready, and our shoulders are not labored by the task before us. Instead, we are excited about the work that we can do to improve the conditions for our children. Regardless of their ward, regardless of where they begin, we are going to make the difference. Our transformation has begun, and it will continue.
While the work before us is daunting, as mission-driven work often is, we can take some comfort in knowing that none of us is on this journey alone. We are a cohort. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, next year, in the next decade, we will support each other as we continue to grow and to apply our learning to our work. We will stand bold together. Thank you.
On behalf of our class, it is now our great pleasure to present the Outstanding Faculty Award.
The recipient of this award was selected by our cohort in a class vote.
And this year's Outstanding Faculty Award goes to Professor Douglas McCabe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. On behalf of all of the faculty and staff, I want to congratulate you on your graduation and your accomplishments. Cohort 2, you rock.
Good morning. I'm George Liebensfeld, Academic Director of Academic Affairs for Executive Education at the McDonough School of Business. It is now my pleasure to introduce for reflections two distinguished individuals representing unique partnership with the DC Public Charter School Board and DC Public Schools. First, we will hear from Rick Cruz, who is chair of the DC Public Charter School Board, and then we will hear from Dr. Melissa Kim, who is the Deputy Chancellor of Social, Emotional, and Academic Development for the DC Public Schools.
Thank you. And in the spring, when I was speaking at high school graduations, I oftentimes quoted Chance the Rapper. But you guys have dropped Dr. King and Kanye today, so I'm going to save you from any additional quotes. Thank you, though, for inviting me here to just say a few things on behalf of the city, quite honestly, and to have me join in recognizing all of your accomplishments. I moved to DC in 1995, and as many of you know, that city, or our city at that time, was a very different place. And not because we didn't have as many restaurants and condos and stadiums, but because the quality of the public schooling available to our children was not what we had hoped. Many of the children then, often poorly served, are themselves now parents with students in many of the schools and classes in which you guys are involved. Their experiences coloring what they expect from our public schools and perhaps what they hope and they think possible for their children. That experience is sticky. Whether you're talking about DC or New Orleans or New York, where I grew up in the Bronx, the culture of our schools is foundational. It shapes our communities, our perceptions, and too often our dreams. It's also sticky in that the culture of underperformance is hard to change. You all know that. There are no sure things, no easy ways forward, and it takes many of us pulling in the same direction, working tirelessly, and leveraging our individual and collective strengths. All of you here today in this cohort lead in different capacities, in different schools, in different ways, but you have in common a commitment to the students in our public schools in the district. And today you graduate with what I hope are a new set of schools to bring to that work, or a new set of tools to bring to that work. I was a philosophy major in college, so maybe it was inevitable that it become a bit of a policy wonk. I've been reading a lot recently about whether we're now in a post-reform era. And if so, what does that mean? One of the more thought-provoking theses is that we're at the end of education policy, post No Child Left Behind, post ESSA, and that the present and the future is all about a return to practice. Now, I don't know if that's entirely true. There are very important policy issues that we can and we should move forward. But the idea that the future lies in practice resonates with me nonetheless. And for no other reason that that's where the real work is done. And oftentimes, we forget that. The only way to find out what is possible is to do that work, because it's in the doing that we find the truth. No matter the school or the role in which you serve each day, you all work with a really precious resource, and that's our city's kids. I've been in hundreds of classrooms in DC. I've seen good and not so good instruction. I've seen students struggle, and right alongside with them, adults. But I've never for a minute questioned the potential that exists within the young girls and boys behind the doors of our schools. Don't let anyone tell you that you must choose between recognizing the many challenges that our kids face every day and believing in their intrinsic capabilities and their potential. We can acknowledge the obstacles that they and their families encounter. We can fight the inequities they confront, but we cannot let that burden our sense of what they can be. I encourage you all to build schools that embrace that view, that seek to make what today seems the extraordinary, what many would describe and have described as improbable or impossible, ordinary, that ensure that all of our children, and especially the black and brown kids who are too frequently left behind, realize their potential academically and beyond. It's fitting that your graduation takes place in December, lights twinkling, a general sense of celebration, but perhaps more fitting, the reflection and thankfulness that comes with the close of another year. It's a time that's pregnant with possibility and hopeful for what the new year may hold. So let me say to each of you, and we don't say it enough in this city, thank you for getting up each day and dedicating yourselves to the kids and the families of our city. And the only people who don't get thanked more than you are the families and loved ones who you mentioned earlier, who support you in what can oftentimes feel like a thankless endeavor. Congratulations for completing this program. Congratulations for the amazing connection that we can already see between all of you. You all are going to move this work forward in ways that we can't even predict. Thank you in advance for the transformation you're going to effect in our city.
Well, good morning. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. I believe that solutions are found through critical examination, reflection, writing, and collaboration. In the last year, you all have done that in abundance. As a practitioner researcher, you enter the program already rich in knowledge and questions about the work that you do every day. And you exit today, well, with even more questions and more knowledge, but also some new solutions and strategies and a greater network of collaborators to expand your perspectives and testing and tinkering with your solutions as you move beyond. I stand before you as an educator who started on my cross-sector journey 7 years ago without the benefit of this wider community. When I started to wonder at that time what it would be like if we thought about our city's children as our children, and thus our schools in both sectors as all our schools, I was met with abundance of criticism and skepticism. I'm sure you felt that way as well. The labels of DC public schools or DC charter schools were emphasized much more to separate than the words such as schools and leaders to connect. I believe that with you, the future of working together to find solutions is brighter than ever. I've had the privilege, like many of others have said, of getting a little bit of a taste of the many solutions you've created already together through your presentations. And as you know, once you see the vision of what is possible through a cross-sector leadership lens, you will always see the work through that lens. It's hard to unsee it through that lens. I'm extremely grateful to have a wider group of collaborators today, and there's so much more that unites us than divides us. A special thank you to all the families and loved ones in the audience. These leaders already have very demanding jobs, and you support them through that every single day. And during the last year, you supported them through a executive master's program, which I'm sure placed even more demands. No doubt, you have done the hard work alongside with them. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Chair Cruz and Dr. Kim, for sharing your thoughts with us today. Before we begin the presentation of candidates for degrees, I would like to recognize the contributions made by the faculty and staff who are my diligent partners here at the McDonough School of Business. As students, each one of you has studied with, been challenged by, and sought counsel from many of our full and part-time faculty members and staff. I therefore ask you as graduates to join me in expressing appreciation to your teachers and administrators. We will now call forward our 2018 candidates for the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. Please hold your applause until the end when all candidates have returned to their seats. Will Dean Almeida and Professors Beese and McCabe please move forward? As Director of Academic Affairs for Executive Education at the McDonough School of Business, I am proud to call forth the following Executive Masters and Leadership candidates. Jade Brawley. Short memories. Shannon Hodge. Zenaida Mahan. Tiffany Siobhan Galloway. Ryan Benjamin. Vanessa Carlo Miranda. Abraham Clayman. Michael DeFabo. Surya Gudger Brabham Douglas. Elba M. Garcia Fiallo. L. Maurice Harbor. Kara Kuchemba. Arturo Martinez. Dwayne McClary. Courtney Taylor. Jennifer Thomas. Margaret White. Benjamin Williams. Julia Yankowski.
That's why we call him Big Ben. Larissa Yarmalovich.
Dean Almeida, on behalf of the faculty of the Robert Emmett McDonough School of Business, it is my honor to present the aforementioned candidates for the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. Will the candidates please rise? Well done. These candidates have been duly examined by the faculty and approved by the Board of Directors. I therefore ask that you bestow on them the degrees and course.
You jumped the gun a little. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Congress of the United States and by the President and Board of Directors of Georgetown University, I officially confer upon the aforementioned candidates the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. Congratulations.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Dean Almeida for his remarks. Paul Almeida is Dean and William R. Berkeley Chair of Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business, where he is committed to creating transformational educational experiences that prepare students to become principled and globally minded leaders, poised to serve both business and society. A member of the Georgetown community for more than 2 decades, Dean Almeida has served Georgetown McDonough in a number of positions, including Deputy Dean for Executive Education and Innovation, and prior to that, as Senior Associate Dean for Executive Education. He also serves as Professor of Strategy and International Business. Dean Almeida.
Thank you. So it's been 37 years since I graduated from high school, and I'm still a little intimidated by principals. So by the end of my speech, I'm going to try to get over that. But graduates, colleagues, parents, spouses, family, and friends, today is about celebration. So we're here with many of the trappings associated with celebrations through the ages: silly hats, ornate robes. I almost tripped over my skirt walking up the stairs. Historic buildings. It's almost like a Harry Potter movie or a fairy tale. But this is much better than that, because we're here to celebrate a wonderful reality: your sacrifice and innovativeness, your effort and accomplishment, what you've achieved in the past year, but more than that, the promise of what you're going to achieve in the future. We're here for a true celebration. So to our graduates, congratulations. As educators, you're often called upon to set positive examples to your students, to be role models, mentors, cheerleaders. I'm sure you get a little tired of it sometimes. In joining our District of Columbia Public School Leaders EML program, we asked you to do the same. Instead, this time, you would impact your entire profession. Your class is a part of an historic program, the first known educational partnership among traditional public and public charter schools. As national headlines focus on the benefits of one system or the other, you instead have showed that both can work and should work together. When we collaborate as partners, the students win. And we want to congratulate you for this. Now, I'm sure the journey was not always easy. I'm sure your families can attest to that. Late nights and very early mornings, there was homework, and you thought you'd got away from homework, right? I'm sure you had high-speed deliverables, is that the word? Projects, papers. Can you imagine? You will not be at the receiving end of a single homework assignment anymore. There were courses of every kind, excursions across the district, night and day experiences within the city, exposures to different practices as well. And through all of this, you grew with each other and, as I can see, closer to each other as well. And you've grown in terms of skills and tools and techniques, but perhaps most importantly, in terms of your mindset, in terms of wisdom. We called upon you to work across sectors, to identify challenges and create solutions, and you didn't disappoint. For our guests who are not familiar with the projects, let me share one more reason we're proud of our graduates today. The projects this year included Digital Equity, DC English Learner Support Center, Trauma-Informed Approach for Supporting Students, At-Risk Lottery, Student Mobility, and Unbox Ed, did I get that right? An incubator and accelerator for innovation in education. These are more than just research papers presented to classmates. These are actual projects with real implications and solutions that we expect will affect more than 90,000 students our principals serve in their public and charter schools. When we first launched our DC Public Schools EML program, Kaya Henderson stood upon this stage and called upon our first cohort to be change makers. You indeed continue that tradition. And if Doug McCain is to be believed, better than anyone else. I'm grateful to your academic director, Bob Bees, who created and developed this program from the ground up, when no one really knew what it was or could be, as well as all our faculty who have worked with Bob for making this wonderful journey of learning and discovery with you. Thank you so much, Bob and the faculty. We are also grateful to our partners, DC Public Schools, DC Public Charter Schools, and the Walton Family Foundation. Thank you so much for all you do. So, we have so much to be thankful for and to celebrate. But today, it's not just about the past, it's about the future. Father Adolfo Nicolas, the former Superior General of the Jesuits, suggested that we're not here just to educate the best people in the world, which you are, but also the best people for the world. The world needs people like you who have knowledge, context, and frameworks to navigate complex issues that occur at the intersection of education and policy and society. You have the tools to make a difference. You have the legitimacy. Georgetown's name resonates at so many levels around the globe. You have a network to tap into, tens of thousands of alumni across more than 100 countries. And you have the confidence to know that you can tackle any challenge. I believe that you can and will make a difference. And that is why we celebrate. As you go forward, your degree and experience here will open many new doors and new possibilities that even you now will not fully realize. But wherever you go and whatever you do, remember where you're from. Who and what is Georgetown? Yes, we're Hoyas, and perhaps with Patrick Ewing, a decent basketball team. Georgetown's also a lovely campus, elegant buildings, scholarly faculty, caring staff, and wonderful students. Look around you at this historic hall. Years of tradition speaking to you. But most of all, Georgetown is our alumni, dispersed across the globe. You are our strength. You give meaning to our name. More than me or anyone else at the podium, you define us through your actions, by what you say and what you do and how you do it. And we know that you will do this well. You will be the best people in the world, and you will be the best people for the world. And for this, we celebrate. Finally, we'll miss you. So wherever life takes you, please come home. Come home by continuing to work with our students and fellow alumni. Come home for referrals, contacts, and advice. Come home to share your expertise with future cohorts. Come home as guest lecturers. Come home to meet your colleagues, old and new. Come home to enrich who we are together. Or come home just to say hello. But come home. We'll be waiting. We'll keep the light on. For you are a Hoya. You are a part of Georgetown, now and forever. And for this, we celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Almeida. Before I bid the graduates what I hope is only a temporary goodbye from the hilltop, I would like to recognize the parents, the spouses, the children, the relatives, and the friends of the graduates who provided them and the school with such valuable support in so many ways. You are as much a part of the Georgetown family as your sons and daughters, husbands and wives. We honor you and thank you. Graduates, please rise and turn and salute your friends and family. Thank you all for joining us today, and congratulations to our graduates. We wish you well in your future endeavors, and remember that as members of the Georgetown alumni, you can always come back to the hilltop. Father Kemp will now offer the benediction.
There's a map in your program that takes you to the reception. I want you to test the leadership ability of these graduates. If it is still a Seattle rain out there, there is a much more level and slightly sheltered way to get there. And I'll leave it for you all to take your family and your friends there that way and not that way. Since it is a reception, and since this is a blessing, my mother would not let us eat without grace before meals. And I slip into my old Catholic grace. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts and all the gifts that we are about to receive, we pray through Christ our Lord. Can I get another amen? Amen. Let's go.
Will the graduates please remain standing at their places until the faculty will the guests please remain standing at their places until the faculty and graduates have recessed. You are all invited to join us for a reception in Fisher Colloquium at the Rafiq B. Hariri building. The ushers will direct you to the reception. The 2018 Executive Masters in Leadership Commencement exercises are now officially closed.